So guys, today we're joined with Kevin and Terry, going to give us an update on how spring 2023 has started, some hiccups or great things that's happened so far. So Kevin, we'll start with you and I'll bring up your first picture here of your soybeans.
So these are conventional beans here. They were planted April 17th, I believe. I'm just kind of looking at you can look at the stand a little bit, population there. We planted these at about, I think they were about 75,000. And we got about 65,000 stand. 60 to 65. What I looked at, you can see it's a little muddy out there. I just took them today. I don't know. We've had 1.5 inches, 2 inches of rain now since it started. But the thing is, this is actually a neat thing. This is on probably the highest fertility ground that I have on the whole farm. Normally when we have these in soybeans, they're completely flat, by month and a half into the season there. So we backed them down a lot. We were shooting for that 65,000 stands, so we're between that 60 and 65, but not bad looking beans. As you can see, go to the next one, Joe. I don't know what the next picture is here, but I sent you. Yeah, this is that field. This was just turboed or ran the Case IH 335 in the fall one time, and then we come in and planted. So they stand looks pretty good, pretty even. Just not much to say. It was cold, so it took I think they were starting to emerge May 5th. We did have a few warm days up till then, so they look pretty good. Now the next picture that Joe has, I think we're getting into our no-till.
Kevin, you might mention is 30-inch rows, right?
Yeah, everything we planted is on 30-inch rows. Some interesting stuff here. I know a lot of you guys no-till in the cover crops, but we got a couple pictures of us no-tilling, and this is in a wheat stubble or wheat cover crop. Already seeing some, and I got some pictures of the conventional here too, but already seeing some interesting differences in the soybeans already. So these were planted 2 days before our conventional was, and you can see they're quite a bit further behind. But I'm already seeing something I don't like already. Look how long the stem is getting already through this cover crop. I think we'll have a couple pictures of some conventional in here. How much closer? So there's where we planted. If you zoom in on it, you can kind of see a row there. They're just way further behind, which is, no big deal. But the thing that for me on our farm, what's already scaring me is it seems like that they're already changing the structure on the plant already. And we're already getting a longer plant stem than what we do in the conventional. Now, maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I think go to the next picture. Maybe I got it zoomed in on here's a picture of the soybean, another one of them long stems coming out that I'm not overly happy with. You can definitely see they were planted here. Here's some of the conventional, the same field where we had a water line that come through, and we had 3 rows, or a gas line come through. We had 3 rows there, right over where they trenched a water line in. And you just look at how much shorter that stem is already and how much more branching is already going on in the same field, just on the conventional right there across that. So it'll be interesting to see the structure of the plant, how much it changes if my fears are right or not. Our biggest problem is that we have the lodging, and then this no-till there. We didn't know what kind of stand we was going to get. So we bumped the population up on that. We planted at about 105,000, and it looks like we got about 90,000 stand. So I'm kind of concerned that might be a little too thick on some of this ground here, especially if they're already getting taller with the stem there. So beans, overall, which we knew that they would take longer to get out with the no-till. I mean, it looks like it's not quite as even of a stand as what we had as far as emergence as what we got as the conventional. I'm hoping that with us being planting a little bit thinner than what we normally do or the neighbors do, that them plants won't get as far behind as like what it does in corn. When you get a couple stalks behind on corn, they never make or catch back up, and be interesting to see if the soybeans catch back up with the ones that are a little bit late bloomers on this no-till. But we've had up till the last 2 days, we've had an extremely dry, cool, cold spring. A lot of the neighbors, including the big farmers, they've been done planting their whole crop for, I don't know, a week already, 10 days. I drove up to Indianapolis last weekend, not in May. I guess it'd been like May 1st or 2nd. We drove up there. What corn I seen emerged from here to Indianapolis was not real good to me. Made me feel good that I had our corn in the bag yet. Now I did plant a few hundred acres. Let's see, that would have been planted an old hill field no-till cover crop Wednesday. In fact, the conditions were pretty good. I still got my ups and downs on cover crops. The ground was so wet yet, even though we were extremely dry. We were having it was good conditions, but it wasn't perfect. A few spots we were having troubles closing the sled all the way up. Now we got a rain here, and now naturally everything's silted shut now. But that was planted Wednesday. Thursday we hit it pretty hard. Friday we hit it pretty hard. Saturday we took off. We didn't plant. And Saturday evening we got a rain. I did go look at the no-till corn this morning during the rain there, and we had about a 1/4 inch shoot on it where we planted some of the conventional stuff Thursday, and that already had about a 1/2 inch shoot on it. Looks both of them look pretty good. Now we've had about 2 inches of rain. Now we got hammered again a couple hours ago. There's no ponding yet, but I don't know. They're talking some more rain today yet this evening. That might start becoming an issue on some of the low holes in the farm. But so far, I feel no regrets in not planting our corn early, just from what I've seen in my area. I make this comment under any management now that's done. I'm looking at their corn at the best is going to be in that, maybe 270, 80 bushel corn in our area, which, is a little bit off of what we try to shoot for. And it's just because of the stand. And I know there was a lot of guys that in the group that held off of planting. And from what I've seen in my area, that was a good call again. Some of that corn laid in the ground for 20 days. And I don't care who you are or what you say, I will not believe that you can get an even perfect emergence with corn laying in the ground for 30 days or 20 days. So now I'm not crazy about this rain that we had, but The good thing is the corn should be out of the ground here by today's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'd say by Wednesday we'll have corn poking through. So it'll be about a week to 6 days this corn will be in the ground, and then we should be okay. Like I said, we may be a few low spots that may be a little saturated that might have a little stand issues, but overall 98-99% of the crop for us, what we planted so far in the corn, I'm expecting to be a really good emergence. Terry, you want to chime in on something on what you're doing?
Yeah, while you were talking there, I just noticed that it looked like you did kill take the burn down, or I guess you put a burn down on 10 days before you start planting. Looks dead. You might.
Yeah.
Is that one thing? Yeah, tell what you use there.
So one thing I did do, I don't have luck of planting in the green, and I'm not telling guys that you can't because I'm not farming your ground. But one thing I did see, I was out there today. I had no slugs. We burned down with we used Verdict. I went with a gallon of 28 mixed with it. I gotta think what else we used, and a quart of Roundup for our burn down. And it was sprayed during that warm spell that we had in May, or in April. And it took about 5-6 days till we had a pretty good kill on the cover crop wheat there. And the reason I went with the Roundup, sometimes with that quick killing stuff, you don't get a complete kill with it. But the Roundup, once it finally warmed up a little bit, you could see the Roundup has to take time to translocate what all the Verdict didn't kill. The Roundup finished it off there. So pretty happy with that. Like I said, the biggest problem for me, I'm not questioning anybody that plants green because everybody's farm is different, but our biggest problem is we can't close the slit. Even with our row cleaners all the way down, I can't get it completely a clean surface there to pull in. Or to clean out for the rows of the beans there. As you can see there, we were even running our row cleaners all the way down, but part of it was our cover crop was pretty thick, and I didn't wait for it to be completely dead, but and where the roots were dry and stuff, where that ground gets a little crumbly. But one thing I did not see, I have not seen any slugs, and I don't know if it's the year or if it's the good kill that we had before emergence. I don't see any slugs working. I was in the cornfield today, and I was talking to Terry earlier, and the first place I put a screwdriver down to dig up my corn, I seen a wireworm on the very first poke in the ground, but it was dead. So the capture is definitely doing what it's supposed to do. So but we already sprayed the conventional ground there that we showed a picture of. I already posted it. That was Thursday. I sprayed. That field there has horrible water hemp issues. So we went ahead and sprayed for the water hemp there. I know it was a little early. Some guys wouldn't have sprayed, but I know one thing, once that water hemp gets big, it's hard to kill. So we did post it already. Our fertility on that, we only ran sugar and a fulvic on the infurl. Nothing in the 2x2, just because of the extremely high fertility. That ground there has had issues with lodging every year that we've had soybeans in it. So we're going to wait. My game plan is to wait. We're going to pull tissue samples, see what stuff does, but probably wait till we start seeing that first bloom. Then we're probably going to go in and Y drop some boron, some ATS, some manganese in there, and whatever else on the tissue samples. But I know for sure that's the 3 nutrients we're going to put out there on a Y drop. But just it's amazing how much tougher the soybeans is. Looking at the corn that was planted at that time. Not saying all the corn has made it, but or most of the corn has made it. Some of the neighbors that planted corn, they got corn that's pushing B3 right now, and then in the same field they still got corn coming out of the ground. So very uneven on the corn, but the soybeans are a lot more even than what the corn is, even in our no-till cover crop wheat there. So pretty happy with that so far. Terry, you want to go ahead and talk?
Joe's got a few pictures of what I took this morning, probably not as extensive as Kevin's. It was starting to rain when I got out there. We're seeing some disturbing things. This is a soybean field right outside my home here, and that was a live wireworm there. So being that there's no insecticide on these soybeans, I could have some wireworm issues possibly. I never have in the past that I've known of being, ruin the stand or anything. But on the right side, you can see that is a slug. Many of you probably have never seen a slug. That's the little light colored thing right above that leaf there on the top. And you can see where he's been eating on that leaf. Joe's showing me out your point right there. And down, I think on that other plant, you probably can't see down below. It's actually starting to nibble on the cotyledon there. So I was in 3 different fields during this morning and did not see, this is the only field I did see any damaging slugs. So it is a high yielding cornfield. Unfortunately, with this high yield corn, we generally have more fodder. And this field, we're playing around a little bit. It's had a VT tool run through part of it. And you can see, I think this part has. So the VT tool has not done enough tillage to help us probably on the slugs in this field, but a little bit of an issue I'm worried about there. And Joe, do I have another picture there? Or is that all I've got? Okay, there. Yeah, I believe the cotyledon on the right there, closer to, yeah, right there. I think they're actually working on that particular cotyledon. Now, sometimes it kills, they cut the cotyledon off. Sometimes they leave it alone. There's some defoliation. I have had to replant whole fields. So the long-term no-till around here seems to have had a bad effect on these slugs. And I think many of you from Kentucky, Tennessee notice it worse than the guys in the northern parts of the regions. And I just wanted to say, along with Kevin, I have been extremely dry. I thought this might not be a bad slug year because it being so dry, but it looks like I may have a few. And I know many of you across the West are extremely dry. I'm hearing people in Kansas and Nebraska that's having to irrigate to get the crops up, or after they plant one or the other. I feel for you because I know that winter weather was not conducive to good yields this coming year, getting you some water in the ground. So hopefully it turns around here and you get the water. And I also want to applaud, like Kevin was saying, I've talked to several of you over the country, and several of you have told me, you've been listening to the meetings and you're doing what Kevin said to hold off until it gets warm. I know many of you got neighbors, and let me get it, they don't have a clue what you're looking at. They're seeing that they're getting their work done. Yeah, they'll get a stand of corn, but there again, if we do the flag test and do the 17.5 feet, we can very possibly see this corn coming up over 24 to 36 hours, pretty even next to each other. And as Kevin's told you in the meetings, that is a yield loss automatically. You've started out in a hole. We've seen doing a flag test where the first kernel out of the ground has 18 around the cob. And we've seen some of those plants that come up day and a half later with 12 and being a nubbin. So I don't know if many of you seen Kevin's video that he generally puts on later on in the summer, but his corn will be as even. If he's got 35 plants in that 17.5 feet, they're just about as even as anybody's I've ever seen. So I think what he's telling us is very true, and it will help you guys on yield. And like I said, I do applaud you guys that's waited. The guys that's got large acreages, I understand you do have to get started planting a little earlier than some of us, but hopefully you hit a good pocket of weather and it gets your corn through and not too many problems. But there again, I did start planting soybeans on April the 15th. The ground was perfect to plant, and I'm a little lazy on that's 15-inch rows. I've been running 120 to 125,000 population, and I've been putting them Donnie deep, if you know what that means, but not 3 inches Donnie, but probably in the 2-inch range. I don't know if any of you paid any attention, but he thought the deeper seeded beans was making the plants branch a little bit better. So we did plant our beans a little deeper than general. I did slap some in at 100,000, and those beans are not up yet. So I haven't seen, but looking at the beans on the ground, if they come up, 100,000 would be plenty thick. So again, guys, I don't know. My beans, I've got some AgriGold 4094s and some DeKalb 38FX3s, some, or I said DeKalb, I meant Asgrow, and then some, what else do I have? I've got the 40FX1s, and we planted a few 3724 AgriGold. So that's the two companies that we're planting beans from this year. And one thing I did do for observation reasons only, at this point, it's not helped, but we pulled the insecticide out of all our treatments and just put the fungicide and the inoculation on. And I was hoping that possibly that I was killing some of the predators of the slug with the insecticide. And at this point, like I said, that's not proving true. Again, it's just an observation that several guys have told me over the last couple of years. So hopefully you guys, most of you is probably getting pretty well through with your corn and bean planting. Kevin, you got Kevin or Joe, either one of you got anything else to say?
What is that, the program you were using, Terry? Just the insecticide?
Well, before I was using insecticide treatment on the seed, and I had to beg the companies. In fact, AgriGold would not sell me seed without treatment on them, but I took them to one of the members that's got a seed treater, and he just put the fungicide and the inoculation on there for me. Then we did put some Cassidy's product on those Asgrow beans, or no, on the AgriGold beans. And we've got Steve Fence program we're going to put on some of our soybeans also. So fertility wise, I'm cheating a little bit. I'm doing soil testing, and my potassium base saturation is still holding the 5 to 5.5 range. I'm going to do, they are in 15-inch rows. I am probably going to put a little dry AMS on these beans a little bit later. May impregnate that's with some micronutrients, and I will spray with the herbicide, some other products, and I'm looking at using some Butarac or 2,4-D-B. I'm a little afraid of the unlabeled 2,4-D just to put on these beans to try to hold the growth cycle back on them in June, because we have a tendency to get quite a bit of beans getting too tall. Don't have too much lodging, but they just seem like they knock the sunlight out on the bottom leaves. So population wise, hopefully some of you guys have cut your population back and give us some testing, and we want to hear from you guys, because we're not in Nebraska or North Dakota, South Dakota, or Maryland, or wherever you guys are at, Illinois, Iowa. because everything's just a little bit different. So, after this, you'll see this video. If you've got some things, we've got the MACC page on Facebook that you can comment on or take pictures from. And we just like to hear from you. So thanks a bunch.
Thank you,
Kevin,
guys.
Kevin, do you want to share what the varieties that you planted on your soybeans?
So the soybeans, I went just straight 35 XF1s as grows. It seems to be, from what our guys said, some of their best standing soybeans, because like I said, that's the main thing we deal with is the lodging. But we planted our best ground and our hill ground with the same soybean, because we kind of have the same issue with our hills. If we get much rain at all from the manure and stuff, guys, we'll have the same lodging issue. So that's kind of what they said. They kind of know our farm a little bit better. I mean, their beans better than what we do as far as the lodging issues. So that's what we planted, 35 XF1s. It's been a few years since I planted any beans, so I thought maybe they'd have some new numbers out that we could play with, but they did say something about the 38s that Terry planted, but they ended up deciding to go with the 35s. So I don't know, good, bad, or indifferent, I guess. We'll see. I am going to once it does dry up, I will probably hit some of our higher yielding stuff. Probably with a fungicide. Donnie said something about a V2 application with a fungicide, so we probably will be hitting them with a fungicide here, maybe this week yet, if we do dry out, which it will take at least 3 or 4 days at least before we can get back in and do anything if it don't rain anymore. So that's kind of the game plan right now. Probably start pulling next week.
How deep did you plant your beans, Kevin?
I planted everything a consistent 2 inches. I did go back in the back 40. No offense, Donnie, where nobody can see it from the highway. I did drop it down to 3 inches. I doubt if they're out of the ground yet, even though it was conventional ground. 3 inches pretty deep. Be interesting to see if they make it out now after we got this 2-inch rain, if we got any crusting or not. But we did plant, maybe 10, 15 acres that deep just to see what's going on, see if they can make it out. So, excuse me, that is deeper than what we normally plant, even the 2 inches. Normally we're in that, 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches deep. So, kind of hoping that helps a little bit with the stand issues too, planting a little deeper. So,
yeah,
that's about all I got right now.
Okay.
So-
Go ahead, Kevin, or go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
So either one of you have any advice going forward, what they need to look for in soybeans and test for, or corn and soybeans, because of this year that they've started off with so cool, struggling to get everything planted?
Well, I'm just going from our past history when, this was kind of like the year that we had really good soybeans 3 years ago. Once you get up, start pulling your tissue samples. And if you are on 30-inch rows, just my opinion, if you want to address some nutrients, just, to me, don't apply any nitrogen yet. I know some guys have said in the past apply nitrogen, but you're not near ready to be putting any nitrogen out there yet. You don't want that vegetative growth. The unforeseen vegetative growth, I should say. And that from what I could see is going to be the biggest player on it. But, pull your tissue samples. And if you're on 30-inch rows, I think the philosophy still holds through on the P and K as what it does on corn. Get your P and K out if you're low. Get your P and K out as soon as you can, because it ain't like it's going anywhere. But you do need time for it to get in your plant, especially on your heavier soils. Just be gearing up from what we know. You think about the nutrient cycle of corn soybean plant. It all starts with boron. Make sure you pay attention to that. And, that's kind of why we're going to make sure that when we start flowering, we're going to be putting a pretty good shot of boron out, because, soybeans will flower so much longer than what corn will. So we want to make sure that we're not low on boron, especially through that reproductive mode, help save some pods there. So, but pull tissue samples and address it like you do on corn. That's my opinion. What you got, Terry?
Well, on the boron test, I really can't answer this question completely, but I know I've tested corn, and let's say it's got a 10 or a 20 on boron parts per million, and they must do the soybean different, because the same farms, I could have 40 to 60 on the boron. So the boron on the corn and soybeans, and do you know, Kevin, what the difference is there?
Well, I would say on the boron, once again, depending on what your yield goals, and I'm just trying to regulate or rectifiate from the beans that we had. I'm trying to think here if I could pull up and look at our tissue samples from 3 years ago on the soybeans. It may take me a second here, but I believe naturally they were way higher. So, let's see if we can find it here.
Yeah,
But
I know that I can't answer the question.
I'm guessing offhand that you want to be in probably that 70, 80 range on the boron if you're growing, you're shooting for 100 bushel beans. I think that's, I'm trying to regulate, but I think that's what it is. If I could find it. Got too many damn pictures here. That would have been, there. That it? That's corn. Corn. Joe, we may have to look at that. I can't. I keep on finding corn tissue samples for some reason. Corn. Corn, imagine that.
That would be what, 2 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, but I've kind of I took pictures of them. Well, I'd go back to, would have been 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It'd been 3 years ago, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was 3.
Been in 20. Here, let's go back to 20 here.
One thing while you're looking, Kevin, the one thing that was interesting, now we're basically at the same time of the year as Kevin was at on those 150 bushel beans, that he got a frost, and his conventional beans made it through the frost. And I'm 100 miles east of Kevin. My beans were planted at the same time, and then that Derby May the 10th or right at it, Kevin got a frost, and that was probably what helped set his beans up to doing the 150 beans. And it probably weren't much bigger than what we're seeing there. Wouldn't you agree, Kevin, when that frost hit?
Yeah, so what I may do, if I can get out there the next 3 or 4 days on some of these, I may come out and hit them with something really hard to try to smoke them back. To just completely obliterate the leaves on it. Oh, here they are. So on the soybeans, we'll get back to that here in a minute. So this was at early bloom. Our boron was 51 on the
Okay.
tissue samples. So, probably need to be in that 60. See if I can get any later ones here. Yeah, here's one a week later, shows 59 on the boron.
You got one in the vegetative stage?
That's what I'm looking for. I must have that on. I got that. I got to get in the filing cabinet then. I don't have that picture. So
Okay.
it must be on that early. But
Well,
anyway, what was we talking about? Oh,
Well,
burning the back. So that's kind of, we may experiment with that and find it, but if I can get out, you seen the picture of them beans. If we can get out there next 3 or 4 days, I may hit them with a Cobra or something just to try to stimulate that frost burn. And I mean, I'm gonna basically almost try to kill them with it to see if we can stimulate what we did or imitate what we did with the frost that year.
3 years ago.
Yeah. But no, I don't know. I'm kind of looking for some more of those soybeans. But all I
Well,
got is from there later.
Kevin and I and Joe hadn't talked about it, but maybe we'll try to get another one of these short things out to you guys in another month or so. Once things get growing, some of the things we're finding, some of the things that we'd like to find that we're not finding, it may be rainfall. But what do you think of that, guys? Do another one in a month and a half?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be good.
See where we're
Okay.
at in 2 days, 2 weeks, something like that.
Mhm.
Should
Yeah,
have-
we'll yeah, and I just wanted to make a comment also. I did plant some corn this past week, and Joe, is that a 420-12? Is that what you call that? The product?
Yeah.
It has worked.
402012, yeah.
Yeah, it has worked flawlessly with the nitrogen. So that mix where Joe's putting it together, Kevin's 2x2 mix, like I said, that is working really good through the planter. So any of you all that's having issues with some products, that might be a good product to look at. So when you're planting. So Kevin, has your mixing been, you haven't had any mixing issues, have you?
No, we've had 0 issues so far. 0.
I've had a few guys call me and say that, and I said, well, I don't think any fertilizer is going to mix at 35 degrees. So, they're having problems in the morning and by evening, they're not having the trouble. So that sort of tells me something. But again, if you all are having mixing issues, water would be your friend. And if you're having other issues, give Joe a call. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. I guess, has Joe, has your shipping been reasonably good this year? I mean, is the trucking been adequate to get you through?
Pretty much. There've been a few struggles of getting enough trucks the right time, but it's just par for the course for the spring that we have.
Okay. All right, that's all I got.
All righty, guys.
Okay.
Good talking to you guys. Take care.
Yeah, have
Yep.
a nice planting season and a safe summer. Thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.